Welcome to the Teapot Reads. I'm the Teapot. This is what I'm currently reading, and I'm so happy to see you today. Welcome back to my channel. Now, before I get started, I would just like to do early on ask you to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm so close to hitting my goal for the year, which is 200 subscribers, which is crazy, but is reasonable. Even my dog thinks you should try to subscribe. He's freaking out because he's decided to park right behind the camera and thinks I'm talking to him, but not like touching him. So he's a little like, what are you doing? Anyway, yes, if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. I would love for my Christmas present this year to be 200 subscribers, not to be cheesy. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. Literally, you are all so amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What are we doing in today's video? We are going to be talking about the worst books of 2021, the worst books that I read this year. There actually aren't that many that I thought, wow, this was horrible, but there were a couple. And I really want to just get one final rant out about each of these before the year is up. So I will be spoiling things about these books. If you don't want to see any spoilers, this is the time to stop the video. If you're just curious about spoilers on certain books, I will have timestamps down below in the description. So if you just want to see like my thoughts on, I don't know, the Bridgerton books, just go to that timestamp. But honestly, I'm just going to talk about everything and not worry about censoring myself or spoilers because, like I said, this is a final rant. A couple of these also have their own reviews posted already, and those definitely go more in depth. I will include the links down below. I will also probably include footage from those because I just hate some of these books a lot. First of all, I want to mention two dishonorable mentions. I did not like these books. They did not work for me, but I see the merit in why people did like them. And the first is House on the Cerulean Sea. I read this earlier in the year because everyone loves this, but everyone freaking loves House on the Cerulean Sea. And I really wanted to love it, and it sounded like it was the perfect recipe for me to love it. And I really didn't love it. I think the only highlight was like the Antichrist. The children characters were like okay, and the Antichrist was fun. Whew. I get why people like it. I do. I like objectively get it. I just thought there were my biggest issue. Okay, let's do that. My biggest issue. I was gonna say I thought there were so many things wrong with it, but really it was one major thing, and that was resolution of conflict. It is such a stupid ending. So you have this setup, right? Linus is trying to protect these students, and they're like protector, like he's trying to keep them from being disbanded, like the school being shut down and getting dispersed. And he's also trying to get them not to be viewed as like freaks, right? He's trying to surmount some of the prejudice there, especially in the local town right by the school. And both of those are big projects. And they're both fucking solved by the ice cream shop owner. Are you kidding? She's also the mayor, and she just has the power to be like, let's not be prejudiced against these children anymore. And hey, let me solve all of your problems. And hey, by the way, I think this is like, I can put in a good word for you. I can help you. Like, this is gonna be fine. This is gonna be fine. She like solves like half the problems. And then the other half of the problems, oh my God, he like writes his recommendation for what's to happen in the school or whatever, and they agree with him. They're like, yeah, the school should last. Like, where was the struggle? Where was this struggle? You could have made this, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It could have been finished with paperwork. I just read A Marvelous Light, another novel that ends with paperwork. And it was like, again, a little anticlimactic, but it wasn't bad. Like House on the Cerulean Sea had such a bad ending. You're just like, what? Why did I care? Why was I stressed about this? It seems like it was solved far too easily. There was no tension. There was nothing at stake. The resolution of these problems feels so meaningless. And then as a side note, I really disliked the main relationship. I can't even remember the one guy's name, but Linus and like the Phoenix. There was no chemistry there. Like, so many people tapped this as being like a cute, gay, warm, soft, queer story. And no, there wasn't. There was nothing soft about it. Like, there was no scenes between the two of them that didn't also involve like at least one other character, which is fine. And you can still have tension between leads like that. But if you're going to say that this book revolves in part around that relationship, you have to actually give them scenes together that mean something other than like a couple lines in passing. Because there was like nothing. And like I knew, because I knew this book was like a romance to some degree. I knew that of course this is like romantic between them. But had I not known that, the end where they're like getting together, I would have been like, why? What was the attraction? I saw no attraction between the two of you, except that you're both kind of lonely gay men. Like, that's it. I was so disappointed. This book was... I think I still have my copy. I will probably end up unhauling it at some point, but I had to work really hard to get a hardcover because at the time, I don't know if it's different now, but at the time there were like no hardcovers to be found. So I was like, I really want a hardcover of this book. Mistakes were made, okay? The other dishonorable mention is The Light of the Midnight Stars. I'm a little kinder towards this one. This is by Rena Rossner. This is actually an arc. It came out in April. It is a fairy tale type story based on Jewish mythology. And objectively, it's a good, powerful story. I just think it really was a victim of the description being so far off from what the book actually is. And also from the book almost trying to be more subtle than it was. It really wasn't a subtle book. So it's kind of tapped as a magical fairy tale set in a historical point, very, when was it? It's pretty early. 5120, and I think it's in Hungary, or Hungary adjacent. And it follows a Jewish family and also like members of the Jewish religion culture during that time. It's tapped to be really magical. The three sisters have powers, and I think it even says they perform small miracles. They don't. I don't think that happens at all in the book. I don't know what it was talking about. Like, that's just a strange description to me. And then it says, darkness begins to sweep across Europe, threatening the lives of every Jew. The sisters are forced to flee their home, but in the danger will reach even those who thought they could escape it. That's true. That's true. That danger, though, in the book is like described as some amorphous darkness or something like that, but it's not. It's like, it's prejudice, it's hate, it's anti-Semitism. It's not magical, and the book is really trying to push this narrative of like, ooh, it's kind of magical, like, ooh, the metaphor. It's not a metaphor. It's so obvious that that's what this is. Like, I almost wish it had been a historical novel with a few touches of magical realism. This is definitely trying to be a fairy tale with a historical setting. It really didn't. It didn't work. It was really, really boring. It was not described the way it actually like is. There's like a switch halfway through the book that I was like, oh, okay, and now what? And nothing. Like, the status quo, it changed like on the surface, but the characters weren't changed. There was so little change across this book. We were told things were changing, but we weren't seeing it. I do really appreciate that it was like Jewish mythology and Jewish folklore. I do think that was really nice, and it's obviously coming from an important place to the author. Like, that came across. I thought that was great, but I think that was really the highlight. My other big issue is formatting. I actually think formatting is really, really important and really, really misused in this text. It follows a very specific pattern. So it'll be the sister Sarah, and then it'll be Levana, and then it'll be Hannah. And they're all told slightly differently. Levana has a little more pizzazz to her storytelling, and then Hannah is writing in a diary, which I thought, that's strange. Why is she, or writing in a diary or letters or something like that? I thought that was strange. It made little sense because, yes, it's first person, but so are Levana and Sarah's. Like, make them third person or something. Like, it was just really weird. And as a writer, really pissed me off because I was like, there's no reason for this to be a diary entry if they're all first person. And then it would be a segment from the Book of Solomonars, which is fictional but based on real texts. And then it would be a third person sort of fairy tale passage. And it did not break this rhythm until the halfway point, when it just sort of shifted the order slightly. And sometimes, no, most of the time, rather than the pattern fitting to the story was forced to fit into this organized pattern of storytelling, and it didn't work. We got a lot of superfluous stuff, or we got a lot of really short chapters in order to get to the important stuff from the other sisters. Or we'd have the wrong sister telling a piece of the story. It made no sense. I really hated it. It was really sloppy. It felt very much like something that could have been fixed. This is going to sound so mean, but it felt very much like something that could have been fixed in a workshop by someone just saying, hey, this isn't working for your story. Have you considered not following a strict pattern in your novel? But like I said, it's just a dishonorable mention. I do understand objectively why you might enjoy this book, and I actually do still recommend this book to people if I think they would like it. It just, for me, I did not like it. So I didn't organize these in like best to worst or worst to best or anything like that, but I think I kind of organized them in the least surprising that it was disappointing to most surprising that it was disappointing, if that makes sense. And first are the Bridgerton books. I read the first 6. I read the first 5 because I read up through Eloise's novel. I don't have a lot of rant in me for these books, I'll be honest. I love the show to death. I love the fictional musical, or fictional, like the unauthorized musical based on the show. If you haven't listened to that, it's great. It's great. These books are so bad, mostly because they're problematic. If you've seen the show, you know that in season 1, Daphne, I was going to say the actress's name, Daphne rapes her husband. It's definitely played a little softer in the show. And I'm not saying it's forgivable in the show, but it's not as terrible as it is in the book. In the book, it is like 5 times worse. Because in the show, if I'm remembering correctly, he's lucid enough and she just kind of keeps going. Whereas in the book, she gets him like drunk and sleeping, and then yeah. And she's our heroine. Whoa, not okay. Really, really bad. Really, really bad. The other books are also riddled with just so many issues. I think in book 2, Anthony says something like, you're my, like, oh yeah, I think it is book 2, because I think Kate's like, you know, can we just wait to have sex? I'm not ready yet. And he's like, no, we're married, you're my wife, we're gonna have sex. And she's like, oh, okay, I guess. Like, no, you said you don't want to. You're allowed to say no, even if you're married. Like, are you kidding? And just like every book had like issues. The least problematic were definitely 4 and 5, so Colin and Eloise's. I don't know, past that I haven't read the rest yet. But even those had problematic aspects. I also feel like outside of books, I think 2, 3, and 4 had decent chemistry for very different reasons. But really the only standout was book 2. The chemistry, Anthony and Kate have, it's fire. The plots of the book, the only ones that really interested me were 2 and 3. Like, as I was reading, taking a step back, I can definitely see why all of them are interesting plots. But as I was reading, I was only invested in the plots for 2 and 3. 3 is kind of like a Cinderella story, and I'm a sucker for that. I was really into it. But these books, man, thank God for the show for making them at least somewhat better. because they're rough to read. They're rough to read. The Night Train. I don't even remember who wrote this. I read this because a coworker who I was trying to impress was like, I really liked this book. I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. It's quick. I unhauled it almost immediately. It really wasn't great. It was pretty bad. It was kind of like Snowpiercer. It was set on a train, and it actually gave me major video game vibes. Like, it felt like it would have been better as the plot of a video game. I think it would have worked really well as a video game, actually, because you're playing as a sort of first-person character who doesn't remember anything and is finding clues throughout the train that might reveal her past. So, what do I remember? She wakes up on a train, and she, I think, was, like, originally, like, handcuffed down or something, and she starts making her way through the train, and it's very strange. There are weird things everywhere. She meets a couple people as she's going through the train who, some of them remember some things and others don't, and the things that are remembered sort of point to a dystopian, cyberpunk-esque future where things are not going well. And they are making their way to the front of the train. I forget why they decide they need to. I think they're just like, we need to keep moving forward. And eventually, they get to the front of the train. There could have been ample room for, like, scares. There was weird stuff, like, there was weird technology. I think there's a man who's trapped between the walls at one point, and one of the characters gets in there with him. Like, there was ample room for making it a creepier book than it was. It wasn't that creepy. When they get to the front of the train, I think we find out she is the clone of the daughter of the... I don't know if he's, like, the leader of the military or the government or something like that, but she's his clone. But his brain was put into her clone body or something. Or maybe she's the original and there was a clone. But they were trying to recreate this, like, president guy. I don't remember why. I guess because they just really liked him. They needed him to fix everything. I don't remember, and I don't know if it went into that much detail. The ending really has a lot of info dumping on where the world is now, but they get to the front of the train, and I think they kill whoever's up there and end up stopping the train, and I think it's three characters who are left are like, okay, now we changed the world? Something like that. One of the characters, I think, was a Olympic skier turned spy type person. They were pretty cool. I don't know. It was a weird novel. I unhauled it, like I said. I would not recommend this at all. I think it's a no. I think if it were to be adapted into a video game, it would be a pretty compelling video game. I think it would be a lot less disappointing, and I think you could amp the creepy level and weird stuff happening on the train up, make it a little longer, but really not a good book. In fact, it was really a bad book. Then I have a manga actually on this list. This is called I Cannot Reach You, Volume 1. I've unhauled this already. I think if I haven't, I don't know where I put it. I didn't see it with my other manga, so I'm pretty sure I've gotten rid of it. I picked it up because I was like, hey, I don't think I've read any queer manga stories, and I really want to try. Oh, it was not good. I don't even remember what it was about. I think the biggest issue was the translation, which I know is not the story's fault, but the translation made it so hard to actually understand what was happening in the story, because it just, there were so many missing pieces or dialogue that made no sense, that any tension that was there, any character growth that was there, it didn't exist. It did not exist, and it was just such a messy translation that I couldn't enjoy the book at all. So that's gone. I'm not going to be continuing with that series. I will continue my search for queer manga to read. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I knew going into this that it might be not my favorite book. If you watched my vlog, which also has a review in it, you know that I have had a bad track record with Stephanie Garber. I loved Legend and Caraval. It's not in that order, but I loved those books so much. They're some of my favorite YA fantasy books. And then Finale was so bad that I I got rid of, because I had a pretty good collection of Caraval books. I got rid of most of them. I kept my favorite editions and got rid of the rest of them. It put such a bad taste in my mouth, and I wasn't sure I was going to pick this one up, but I did because of the hype and because I really, really wanted to like it, and I really, really did not like it, but at least I knew I might dislike it. It was a stupid story. The protagonist was so boring. She doesn't really have any motivation other than, like, I guess to apologize in a weird way, or to, like, fulfill her debt and, like, to get away. Like, it was very strange. She ends up going to the ancient north, and then her motivation is just to do what, like, Jax told her to do, and then she's, like, wants to discover more about herself, but also not really, because it seems like she's just being told she wants to. I found her so wishy-washy and boring. I found Jax boring. I found the inclusion of vampires so stupid and rage-inducing. Not because there are vampires, because I fucking love vampires, okay? I love vampires. If there are vampires in a book, I'm probably going to like it. Where the hell did these vampires come from? They act as if it's like everyone knows that vampires are a thing. Like, one of the fates is like a vampire. I'm sorry, I don't remember that ever being mentioned ever at any point ever in the previous 3 books. I'm sorry, where did vampires come from? And if they're, like, common enough that there's a lot of them running around in this one, where were they in the other books? Or what, is next book going to introduce werewolves? Stop. This isn't, it's stupid. It wasn't needed. What tension does it add? It gives this side character who I didn't care about, and the story didn't care about outside of being one of the early motivations for Evangeline. I made him a vampire. Okay, and now what? She wasn't really attracted to him anymore. I'm pretty sure she gave up on him at that point. When they said vampires, I had to, like, take a step away and breathe because I was so overwhelmed with the stupidity. Okay, I think I'm just gonna end my rant there on vampires are stupid. And finally, the worst book I have read this year. The worst book I have read this year. Probably the worst written book I have read in a long time. A disappointment I could not see coming. A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. You, sir, are awful. I hate you. I hate this book. This is book 4 in the series, and it does everything wrong. Where do I start? I really loved Nesta as a character. I thought she was really unique, really interesting. And this book makes her very not interesting and not unique. And it makes Cassian not important and has 0 plot and is trying to be about healing, but we don't really see much healing. And Farrah's pregnant, but no one tells her that it might kill her. And when Nesta tells her it might kill her, everyone's like, Nesta, you bitch, why would you say that? You're gonna stress her out. Like, fuck off. Farrah deserves to know the risks of her pregnancy. Don't be mad at Nesta. Cassian does nothing. Azriel does nothing. No one does anything. Lucian is barely in it. Rhysand is a dick that they want to become the ruler of the world or something. Why? Thank God he said no. I have a feeling that's where it's going. What was the point of the mask? Why was the house alive? If you've seen my other videos, you know I love houses that are alive, like magical living houses. I love that. One of my favorite things in fantasy. Stupid here, very stupid here. The friendship bracelets were stupid. I'm sorry, they were stupid. I did like Nesta's friends. I liked the girl power, but not enough to actually care about what happened to any of them at the end. What was Elaine doing? I don't know. Probably nothing. What was Feyre doing? She was just being pregnant, but no one was telling her anything. So, you know, nothing really. Oh my God. Tamlin was a more interesting character in this book than half of our actually good characters. Eris, I enjoyed Eris. I thought that was interesting. Moore was doing something. Amron was pissed at Nesta, and I didn't get it. I did not get it at all. No one really took Nesta seriously. I get she was a bitch, but like, there are other ways to handle. It took place in Valeris, so nothing felt like it was in danger. Like, I at no point felt like any of the characters were actually at risk, or that the world they had set up for themselves was at risk. I was like, yeah, this is status quo safety. Okay. Did she manage to ruin one of my favorite series with one book? Almost. Just about almost. Book 5 better be decent. Because I swear to God, I have put so much love into these books. If they continue on this path, I don't know how I'm gonna feel. Rant over. Those are the worst books I read this year, and oh my God, this felt good to just get it off my chest one final time. I'm going to put them all behind me. I'm going to move on, and hopefully in the new year, I won't have worst books. Hopefully. I know that's impossible, but fingers crossed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around, for being here for me. If you were somewhere cold, I hope you're staying warm. If you were somewhere warm, I hope you're staying comfortable. Most of all, I hope you're reading a great book. I will see you guys next time. Bye.